How are you, everyone? Good. Don't get sick until Tuesday, okay? Tuesday we must do the exam. Because everybody is giving the past exam on Tuesday, and then you have 1 week break, almost 1 week break, and then you come back on Monday. Okay? So before the break, we had to give you the exam. So instead of going to lectures, I decided just to go over the review sheet. So whatever we have left on the review sheet, there are only 3 topics left. So you're going to just do it on the review sheet. In that way, we will do review sheet and the lecture at the same time. Okay? And I'm not feeling well, so I may not be in your exam. Okay, maybe someone else will be in your exam. Maybe.
When is the exam?
Tuesday.
Is that our midterm?
First midterm. It's a mid. It's not a midterm. It's like first exam. Exactly.
And we have to agree them?
3 exams, 3 months, and then you have final exam. No, I just came. I really wanted to cancel the class. But I know, but see, we have twisted. I learned on Tuesday. So, I like I must be here. Huh? Me too. I really want to wake up, but I was I know. And my bus was late. Yeah, no wonder I came 20 minutes late today.
That's why too.
I know, I understand. That's what I said. The quiz, if you miss it, no problem, because you get, I can give you 2 questions later, so you can make up for the missed one. But try not to be late on exam days.
Right.
Wake up at least half an hour earlier than when you usually wake up. In that way, even if you're late, you will not be late for the class. Only for exam days. So 4 days, wake up early, okay? And the rest of the semester, you can wake up on time, no problem. Okay, on our last class, we solved radical equation. So let's start with that. Let's start with this one. We have x equals 3x minus 8 and a plus 4. So let me remind you the steps. We cannot do anything until radical is alone. So radical is very strong when it has its friend next to that. So the 4 is its friend, so we need to get rid of the friend. When you remove all the friends from the radical, then it becomes weaker, so we can apply the square power. But when you apply the square power, if you have more than 1 term on the other side, that means you have to use FOIL. Once you do FOIL, we need to bring everything to one side so that we can factor and then we can solve for x. So that's the steps. Get the radical alone, square both sides, FOIL them out, bring everything to one side. And then factor. So, like Daniela said, first step is subtract 4. So we have x minus 4 in one side and square root of b. A we really did in our last class, but we didn't do b. So since radical is alone, so this time we can apply the power. So the square root, square power, they cancel out. Here we get 3x minus 8 But here you have to do FOIL. You cannot distribute the power, okay? So when you FOIL them out, this and this gives you x squared minus 4x. This gives you negative 4x, and finally positive 16. But then you can combine them. They are the like terms. So we have x squared minus 8x plus 16 is 3x minus 8. So steps 1, get the radical alone. Step 2, apply the power. On both sides. Step 3, do FOIL. Step 4, bring everything to one side. And then finally, factor and solve. So we are done with 4 steps. Oh, sorry, 3 steps. Now we just need to bring everything to one side. So keep your x squared because it's always positive. And then I subtract the 3x and we add the 8. Now you may wonder, how do you know it's factorable or not? Well, in this class, it will always be factorable. In class, in exam, in quizzes, everywhere, it will be factorable. So if it's not factorable, that means there is something wrong with the calculation. So check your work again. So what do we have? X squared, and then when you combine the terms, what do you get? Minus 11x plus 24 equals 0. So now we are done with step 4. We brought everything to one side, so we have only one more step. Factor and solve. Can you think of 2 numbers? When you multiply, you get 24. Negative 8. Okay. And when you add, you get negative 11. So it's definitely 8 and 3, right? 8 has to be negative because our middle term is negative. So negative 8. So 3 has to be what? Also negative. Otherwise, it cannot get negative 11 when you add them. So the sign for the smaller number, you have to calculate, but sign for the bigger number, it's always given. It's the middle sign. So x minus 8 is 0 gives us x is 8. X minus 3, 0 gives us x is 3. So just because you got something, it doesn't mean you are done. You must check the answers. So we have x equals 3x minus 8 plus 4. We need to check it twice, so I'm writing it twice. In the first one, our x is 8. So 8 equals 3 times 8 minus 8 plus 4. So when we simplify our right side, that's supposed to give us 8. So 3 times 8, what do you have? 24 minus 8 and then plus 4. What is 24 minus 8? So 16 plus 4. What is square root of 16? And what is 4 plus 4? 8. So do we have the same thing on both sides? Yep. So we are going to accept this as our solution. Now we have to check the other one. Our x is 3, so we have 3 times 3 minus 8 minus 4. We want the right side to give us 3 also. So what do we have? 3 times 3? 9 minus 8, and then we have extra 4. Sorry, plus, my bad. And what is 9 minus 8? What is square root of 1? What is 1 plus 4? 5. Do you have the same thing? No. So you cannot take x equals 3 as our solution.
So, one of them is usually not in.
Sometimes both of them doesn't work.
What would it be?
No solution. When both doesn't work, that means no solution. But when one of them works, it's one solution. But sometimes both of them works also. So in the exam, you're going to do one of these. Any question? Okay, next 10.7. And I'm going to do multiplication. We did number 8 in our class. So let's do it. We have 9 plus 2i, 6 minus 7i. Anytime we multiply binomials or 2, 3 times or 4 times anything, we always have to use FOIL. And the difference between the imaginary multiplication of the imaginary number and multiplication of the real number is that anytime in the imaginary number, if you get I squared, it turns into -1. So always, anytime you see I squared, you cannot leave it alone. You must write I squared as -1. So that's the difference between real number multiplication and complex number multiplication. In working with complex, I squared becomes real number, -1. But we do the same thing. We do FOIL. So you take 9 and multiply both of them. So 9 times 6 plus 9 times -7i. And then we take 2i. So 2i times the 6 plus 2i times the 7i. So you take one term from the first factor. We multiply everything on the second term, 7 factor. Then we take the second term and multiply everything, just like normal multiplication. We are foiling them out. So what is 9 times 6? 54. And from here, what do we get? -63i. I is just like variable x. 2i times 6. 12i positive. And finally, the last one. -14 I square. You see, I square. Every I square becomes -1. So you cannot leave the I square alone. You can leave the I alone, but you cannot leave I square. So from here, we actually get positive 14 because negative 14 times negative 1 gives us positive 14. But look, do we have like terms here? So what do we get from here? Negative 51i. And we just bring it down. And now we have like terms, these two. So 68 minus 51i. And when you write the solution, we're supposed to write the real number first and then the I. Any question? Was anything unclear in the steps? You try the next one. This 5. You actually have 2 ways of doing it. Either use the FOIL or do you observe something?
Oh,
Shortcuts.
is it, the first term squared, subtract, so the second term. Is it conjugates?
Perfect. These are conjugate because they're the exact same two things, just their middle signs are different. So these are same. And these are same. 9, let me see.
No, it's 1, right? 1,
9. No, she's correct.
2.
Really? 2i squared? So 2i squared turns into what? So you have minus 4i squared, right?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so credit to subtract, negative 4.
Subtract negative 4 times into positive 4.
So
Mm-hmm. If you don't know what we are talking about, you can spoil, no problem. Are you guys done? Okay, let me show you both. First, let me show you shortcut. This shortcut is only for conjugates. Conjugate means they have the same two things, same two terms, just their middle signs are different. And when you multiply conjugates, it's always the second term squared minus the first term squared. So our first term is square root of 5. We square the square root of 5, and we always subtract the second term square. So first term square minus second term square. In the first term, the radical, the square root and square power cancel out. So we get only 5. And here we need to distribute the power rule. If you have more things on the base, but only one power, we distribute. So we get 4i squared. I squared is negative 1. As a result, the negative 4i squared turns into a positive 4. And we just keep our 5. That gives us the answer is 9. And shortcut is always easier because in the exam, we don't have much time. You have to do many questions in short time, especially in the final exam. It's only 2 hours, but you have to do 30 questions.
and how many?
Around 20. For in-class exam, it's shorter, but final exam, it's 2 hours, 30 questions. study hard questions. Okay, now if you don't remember the shortcut, no problem. You can always do, well, square root of 5 times square root of 5 gives you square root of 5 square. Then you multiply the other one, we get minus 2i square root of 5. You go other way around, plus 2i square root of 5. And finally, minus 2i times 2i. So you can see plus minus they cancel out. From here you get a single 5, and from here you get 4i squared. But again, I squared means -1. So I get 5 plus 4, that turns into 9. Any question on any of the steps, Roger?
So what was the square root of 5 minus 6 with the order number?
No. As long as you have the same two things, just the signs are different, you can always multiply them in this way.
So you show us.
One of them has to be positive, one of them has to be negative. If they both have the same sign, you cannot do that. You must do FOIL. So conjugate means the sign must be different. Otherwise, they're not conjugate. The next one is division. So before doing this one, let me show you one with another one. For example, you have 7/5i. Example. Okay. Unfortunately, we don't know how to divide by I. Okay. We have no idea. Because I is square root, and we don't know how to divide by any type of radical, any type of root. So instead of dividing, what we do is we call rationalizing. So we rationalize the denominator. So in here we have two things, 7 and 5i. 7 is a real number, we have no problem. 5 is a real number, we have no problem. The only problem we have is the I. So our goal is to get rid of the I and make it as a real number on the denominator. So what can we do so that the I becomes real number? We don't need the 5 because 5 is already real. The only problem we face is the I. So multiply top and bottom by I. Because 5 is real, right? 5 is a real number. Do we have any problem with 5? But do we have problem with I?
You do the whole thing.
We don't. Because you do, you have to simplify anyway. So why wasting your energy?
Oh, so regardless, if you get somewhere.
It doesn't matter whether you multiply by I or 5i. If you do with 5i, you have to cancel at the end. So why? Why doing something unnecessary? So remember, we get rid of only the things we have problem with. We have problem with I here. 5 doesn't give us any problem. 7 doesn't give us any problem. That means we need an extra I to get I square. And now we are happy because I squared is what? -1. So what is our answer? 7/5 -5. In other words, -7i/5. If you multiply by 5i, go ahead, do it and see if you get the same answer. 25 on the bottom, but what happens at the top? See? You have to reduce 35 and 25. So why do you want to do something extra? So when you have only one term, we need to multiply top and bottom by I. But not always we are going to have one term. Sometimes we are going to have two terms, just like these examples. We have 1 minus 6i over 3 minus 2i. Now we cannot simply multiply by I because we don't have one term, we have two terms on the denominator. So when you have two terms, what do you have to use? Conjugate. Here two terms. So let me rewrite 1 minus 6i, 3 minus 2i. So what is the conjugate of the denominator? 3 plus 2i. And you see on the left page that when you multiply the conjugate, we don't get I any longer, we get a real number. So that's why we apply the conjugate, so the denominator doesn't get any I anymore, it only gets a real number. Okay, that is our goal. Get rid of the I from the denominator. The denominator is easy because we already did the left page is the first term square minus second term square. So we get 9 minus 4i squared. But we know I squared is -1. As a result, we get 9 plus 4. That gives us 13. See, we are happy, but denominator doesn't have any more i's. And now we go to the numerator. And we just have to do FOIL on the top. Tell me what do you get when you FOIL? Tell me all the whole thing, the first step. 3 times 1 is 3, 2i times 1 is 2i, and then minus 18i minus 12i squared. We have an I squared here, which is -1. So what happens to the negative? Let me actually write the next part here. 9 minus 4i squared. That gives us 9 plus 4. That gives us 13. And let me erase this. Okay, so we have like terms here, right? In the middle. And our I squared turns into -1. So what do we have now? 3, and then when you combine the two terms, minus 16i, and then -12 turns into +12 because of the I square. Oh, we have one more like terms. What do you get? 15 minus 16i. But it says express in this format, a plus or minus bi. It means we are going to split our numerators. So numerators is 15 and 16i. We write the denominator separately below each numerator. And this is our final answer. So in division, we apply perfect squares on the denominator, FOIL on the numerator. Every I square changes the sign of the term, and we keep simplifying, and then we just distribute. Not distribute, rewrite numerator twice. So we did denominator twice. And here the question. Huh? Because this is the format for like number. The real number, this is real. So we separate the real number from the imaginary number. This part is imaginary. You don't die. But this is a real number. So you always have to separate the real from the imaginary part. Okay, you try one. It's 3 minus 4i divided by 5 plus 6i. Oh, I forgot attendance. So tired, so sleepy. Today is 9:26. Kaylin here. Daniela here. Alexis here. Sophia here. Evelyn. Catherine Chen here. Sharon here. Kevin here. Emma absent. Coran here. Kira here. Ibrahima here. Diani here. Alex here. Jonathan absent. Prashali here. Shinia. Shinia absent. Nicholas absent. Zachariah here. Jean here. Roger here. Catherine Lynn here. Jaylin. Oh, you switch your seat. Yariel here. Ashley here. Brenda absent. Juliana absent. Vianney here. Niley absent. Brittany here. Aditya absent. Jade. Jamil here. Jonathan. Oh man. Damn, okay. Jayla absent. Skylar here. Sing here. Jonathan. Okay, ready? Diani, would you like to help me with this one? Diani. We're going to multiply top and bottom by? Wonderful.
Okay, so then in the denominator, we would have, parentheses 5, and then square, and then we have six, and same time, yeah, square. And then for the top, I got 15 minus 18i, minus 29 plus 24.
Minus 20i plus 24 I square. Great. You did it correctly.
Next person.
Okay, Skylar, go ahead. She did the first step perfectly. You can observe this, and also you can observe this. So, minus 24,
And the bottom is 25. I mean, plus that.
not 12.
It's 6.
So you can write 36 I squared, which will turn into 25 plus 36. So yeah, common mistake, people actually forget that it's square, not multiplication. Okay, so what do you have on the top? -9 minus 38i. And what is our denominator? 25 plus 36 is 64? 61? Okay. So you're done. Continue. Go.
You don't get it wrong. She wants to say yes. She will say.
I really just.
Wait, how about this? How about this? You forget to do it. Just keep partial performance and
And just write a little note. Make sure to remember. That's it.
Yeah, that seems very.
Uh-huh,
You should
very
do that.
Very similar.
Okay, this exam I'll tell you to remember, but later you must remember. 9 minus 9. You cannot match.
Yeah, by the way, you gotta get your bus out.
We made it. Yeah, what happened? Tell us.
You can write it down. To the bus.
For real?
She got hit by the bus. Wow.
What do you think is not a solution? It's like.
Oh, another car?
What are you going fast as fuck?
Yo, remember, no, great.
For real?
Did anyone like?
You took a video? Right.
Did anyone like shot or like?
Somebody got hurt, he said.
There was a lady screaming. That's great.
So
Yeah.
what happened at the police? And nobody could pick it up.
Wait, this.
Huh?
Oh, that's.
Is it -9 over 61 plus -38 over 61?
What did you say?
Isn't it supposed to be -9 over 61 plus -38 over
But the plus and minus becomes minus.
Also, you just leave us. So yeah, big minus.
Because plus and the minus, they turn into minus. Okay, so that's how we divide imaginary numbers. We actually don't divide, we do rational. And now comes our last topic, reduce the power of I. This is our last topic, that's it. After that, we are done everything for the everything for the exam.
Yes.
So reduce the power of I, there are many methods, okay? But the method I prefer, or I think it's easier, is if you divide the power by 2 instead of divide the power by 4. Okay? So the problem is we actually want to get only I or negative I as our answer. Anytime you have I with more than 1 power, like I square, you cannot leave it alone, it turns into -1. If you have I cube, you cannot leave it alone, you have to reduce so that it becomes I or negative I, something like that. So I cannot have any power that is more than 1. Sure.
So is that the same thing as the other rules before, will it be, if it's even, it'll be -1, and if it's like an odd number, it'll be.
Something like that. I actually don't know the rule, so I always reduce. So first one, I with the power 22. Definitely we hate that. We want to get only 4 of these, 4 from here. So reduce the power of I means the answer must be either a 1 or -1 or I or negative I. Okay. Whenever we reduce the power of I, we have 4 choices to be our answer. One of them is definitely our answer. Which one? We figured that out. -1? True. Okay, so remember, we already know that I squared is -1. This is we familiar with already. This thing. So our goal is to see how many I squared we have in our I to the 22 power. Okay. So how many I squared we have in 22 power? 11 of them, right? In other words, we simply divide the power by 2, we get 11. That becomes our power. And we know I squared is -1, right? Huh? Huh? We know, I'm not done, okay? So we already know that every I square is -1. So our goal is to, whatever we have, convert that into I square with some power. Why? Because I square is -1. Because every I square is -1. So how many I square we have in 22 power? 11 of them. So we know I square is -1. That means we have -1 how many times? And what is -1 to the any odd power? -1. So see, from the 4, our first answer is -1, the second choice. So this is only one method, okay, from many methods. Whatever we have, we divide by 2. Why 2? Because we know I square is -1. So we have to see how many times we have -1 in that I power. But not always we will be able to divide evenly. Sometimes we get remainder.
Of course.
When we have remainder, when you divide, our answer will be either I or -I, one of them.
Yeah, so like, if you, are you saying that you divide by 4 very weird, just.
If you divide by 4, you have 4 remainders. Either 0 remainder, 1 remainder, 2 remainder, or 3 remainder, right? That means you have to remember 4 things.
Wait, I wait. I took wait now. Including the -1.
This time it will be +1.
But it'll be I squared to the 20,000.
And 20 is other even.
Even.
So -1 to the even power is? See the rules?
Is this the last one?
Huh? This is the last thing.
Yeah.
So our next one is I to the 40. Well, how many I square we have in 40? 20 of them. Right? Because 20 times 2 gives us 40. That means we have -1 20 times. And -1 with any even power is +1. Could be. So in these 2 cases, we don't have any remainder. Why any divided by 2? We get whole number. But look at the next one. We have I to the 23 3 times. Step 1, apply the power rule. When you have 2 powers together, do you add them or do you multiply them? multiply them. So what is 23 times 3? 69. 69 is an odd number. That means if we divide by 2, we are going to get a remainder 1 left. So how many I square we have in 69? Means if we divide 69 by 2. 34? Yeah. So 3 gives us 6. We have 4. We have 34 of them, but then we have 1 extra. We have 1 extra I left, right? So when we divide 69 by 2, we have -1 34 times, but with an extra I. We have -1 34 times, and then our extra I. 34 is odd or even. So if you have -1 even times, what's the answer? +1. But we still have our extra I. So answer is?
You lost.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know. I don't know where.
Oh, Alex.
She's like,
But we don't know what is IQ.
One.
IQ is not 1.
Wait.
IQ is not 1. I square is -1. I to the 4 is 1. But IQ is not 1.
Wait.
Huh?
But here's the thing, if you know the first two, right, that's I and -1, then the one after that, it'll just be the opposite. It's just like repeating order. Does it make sense?
It's not true.
Next question. Is that an 8?
See?
Except that.
Yeah. No. Now I'm going to rewrite them. In one of the final exams, they asked this question. I to the 28 plus I to the 35. That means you are doing it twice and then combining the result together.
Oh,
If 28 is even number, that means our answer will be either 1 or -1. Actually, I should write this down. If I has even power, the answer is either 1 or -1. Okay. For even, it's 1 or -1. But if I has odd power, the answer is either I or -I. Odd means I or -I. See? So when I has an even power, that's whether 1 or -1, one of them.
And this for the second one.
That's so whether I or -1, one of them.
And then there's a remaining I. So how do you add this?
You multiply them, right?
No, because you have a addition sign, you have 1 and then plus the -1 I.
So keep it. 1 minus I.
But would it be -1 I?
1 minus I. What is -1 I? It's minus I, right? What is -1 I? It's simply minus I. So 1 minus I. Okay, so if you can remember this rule, you'll know when you're right or when you're wrong. I with even means either 1 or -1 answer. I with odd means either I or -I. Anything. So this is even, right? So we already know our answer will be either 1 or -1 in the first part. So we want to see, we have I squared how many times in 28? It means 2 times what gives you 28? 14. So we have -1 14 times. What do you have? A -1 or a +1? Positive, because 14 is an even number. But the next one is add. So if you want, you can actually split them into 34 and a single I. Because 34 and 1 gives us 35, right? Okay. So now in 34, how many I square we have? It means 2 times what gives you 34? And we have nothing to do with this extra I, we bring it down. Or maybe I should do it in the next step. I can write I square. So that gives us -1 17 times with an extra I. Now 17 is odd or even? So -1 is it odd or even? Sorry, 17 is odd or even? So from here we get -1 I and then +1 in the front. But this basically means nothing. It's 1 minus I. And this is our final answer. 1 minus I. So I'm actually in the exam, I'm going to give you one of these. One with the odd, one with the even. And then find them separately, put them together. Okay, you try the next one, 60 and 70. I to the 60 minus I to the 70. Oh, they both are even numbers. Let me make it interesting. Let's say 71. I to the 60 and I to the 71. So one of the power is odd, one of the power is even. That means for one of them, we're going to get 1 or -1. For the other one, we're going to get either I or -I. And if you think you did not understand anything, look for your methods. Which method is easier for you? They actually have many methods of simplifying I. If you use this method, you don't have to memorize anything. It's just simply I square is -1. We use that information to reduce every power on I. What do you have? 71. It was 70, but I made it interesting by writing it 71. Say 1 minus I, same thing? Oh, oh, then what is it? Ready? Roger, no phone. How many times every lecture I have to remind you, no phone? So we want to see how many I squared we have in 60. In other words, how many 2 we have in 60. So 2 times what? 30. So we have negative 130 times. What do you have? Positive 1. So this one, we can split 1 extra I with 70 I's. Wow. 35. So we have negative 135 times and a single I. So from here, what do you have? Negative 1. And we have negative 1. Going to combine them. We get 1 plus I. Where is lost? Zakaria, which part? Which part is confusing?
Yeah.
But 1 times I. Maybe I should do this instead of that. So we have 1 minus negative I. Because negative 1 times I, right?
Right.
So now we have double negative. That turn into positive. So 1 plus I. Anyone else?
All right.
Brother.
You go over it.
Okay. Any other question on this one? So remember, in the exam, I'm going to give you one of these. So let me tell you actually what will be in the exam. Yay. Can I change my slide? Wait. Are you guys done? Alexis, Catherine, done? Are you done? Okay, so let me pull out my review. This will be in the exam. This is easy. All you have to do is draw a vertical line and see which of these graph represent function and not. Okay, so if the vertical line touches more than once, is it a function or not a function? Not a function. How about a vertical line? No. How about this one? Yes. So for these are easy 7 or 8 questions. All you have to do is draw a vertical line and say yes or no. That's it. The second one, which of the equation is a function? You have to remember the rule that y with add, yes. Y with even, no. We don't care about x. If you have no y, also no. So it's not a function if you have y with the even power or there is no y, it's not a function. So observing this one, is it a function? I said y, observe the power on the y. What the power on the y we have? 1. Is 1 odd or even? So yes. How about the next one? Yes. How about this one? No y, so no. And you have to say it's no y, that's why it's no. So for this, you have to say yes or no and why. So it's yes because y with the odd power. D is no because no y. How about this one? Huh? The first one? You mean y equals x squared? Which of the graph represent function? Okay, how about E? Is it a function or not a function? E, here. What is the power on the y? Is it odd or even? So for even, is it a function or not a function? No, because y has even power. So this is the rule. Y with even power or no y is not a function. So if you have one of these scenarios, that's a function. Except for one of these, everything else is a function. Okay, from here, I'm going to give this one. Because this was the finalism question. From domain and range, I'm going to ask something like this and this. From the next one of something like this one. I don't remember this one. But definitely one of these, okay? Find the slope of the line that goes to 2 points.
Okay.
What is the slope formula? Y equals mx plus b is the equation. But to find the slope that goes to 2 points, we need a slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So all of these are x1, y1, x2, y2. All you have to do is substitute and simplify. And you have to remember two scenarios. If we have 0 over a number, the answer is 0. But if you have a number over 0, what's the answer here? Undefined. We cannot have 0 in the denominator. Anytime you have 0 in the denominator, it's not real. It doesn't exist. In other cases, if you have a number over number, it's just number. Probably one of these. I don't remember. And from here, something like question 4. Find the equation of the perpendicular line.
Let's get it. So set forth whatever stand is.
What you're talking about?
But how did you didn't get like you get
We are going to do one of them. Something like question 6, the graph will be given, you have to find x value and y value. One from this transformation. One from this type of transformation. The graph is given here to state the transformation. Oh man. Definitely this. One from here, one from there. uh in the review sheet I have on Blackboard, I actually don't have these. I forgot to put them, but these are finalizer questions. So I'm going to ask one from here and one from there. Basically, I'm giving all the finalizer questions, okay? Whatever you see in the finalizer, I'm going to ask in this exam. Rationalize the denominators, something like these two. One from here. One solving. One from multiplication. One from division. And one from this. So it will be a long one, long exam. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21 question.
Can you pull that down a little bit?
More?
More. Okay, there.
Okay, now let's go over a few of these. So we did the last part. Oh, and don't forget about these. There will be around 30 questions on the rules.
30 questions on rules.
It's like a quiz. The quiz you took, like what is -1? What is -1 to the, let's say, 5 power? And what is -1 to the, let's say, 100 power? 1. What is 0 to the 0? Undefined. DNA. What is 0 to the -5? Undefined. 0 cannot take 0 negative power. So these are small, just one point question. So around 30 to 35 here, and then we have 21 on the other part. 21 real question and the rules. 2 hours. Trust me, if you know the rules, you are going to get 30 points automatically. Okay, so from 100 points, you get 30 points automatically. The rest, you can manage. And I'll try to put something extra so you get extra points. Okay, so what's the difference between -4 square and parentheses -4 square? What is this? So here negative is not included. So that says -16. But here the answer is +16. So see 2 or 4 points here automatically. Let's do one of these. Anyone? Which one you think is harder? Anything. Which one, F? Okay. So we have 246 to the power negative 3/4. Our goal is to rewrite 246 with what power? So what to the power 4 will be 246? Let's start with 3. What is 3 to the 4? 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 27 times 3 is 81. So 3 to the 4 doesn't give us 246. How about 4 to the 4? 4 and 4 gives us 16. Another 4 and another 4 gives us another 16, right? So multiply 16 and 16. 6 times 6 is 36. So we have 3 on the top. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 3 is 9. And then we add the 16. So we get 6, 4, 2. See? It's 4 to the 4. That's how we find it. You start by the smaller number. Definitely one of them, either 2 to the 4, or 3 to the 4, or 4 to the 4, or 5 to the 4. That's it. Only this, one of them will be 246. 56, sorry, this is 5. It should be 5. Typo. 5 and 6 gives us 9 and 6 gives us 5, not 4. My bad. Yeah. Ask me, I'll check. Anytime you think something is wrong with the question, you don't have to struggle alone. Just ask me, I'll check whether I have something wrong or not. Then what happens? What do you do from there? So you're left with 4 with the negative 3 power. So what is anything with the negative power? How do you convert into positive? 1 over 4 with the positive 3. And what is 4 times 4 times 4? 64. So see, this is one exponent rules. So I'm going to ask something like this in the exam. What is 4 with negative 3 power? So you're going to say it's 1 over 4 cube, which is 1 over 64. So one of these, let me do the transformation. You said you need help with transformation. So transformation. Here. The first one is negative x minus 2 plus 3. What is our original function here? What type of function we are working with? V, good job. So this is absolute value, which is a V, right? What negative in the front means? So we are going to work with the upside down V. And then we have a minus 2 inside the absolute value. Good, you remember. It's right 2. And we have plus 3 after that. After 3. So in the exam, there is 1 point for the original one, absolute value of x. Now we are reflecting it, going 2 right, 3 up. So 2 right, 1, 2, 3 up. And this is our new function. Negative x minus 2 plus 3. So in the exam, I want to see this transformation. Okay. Original one is 1 point, and the transformation is 3 points. So this question will have 4 points. Yani, concentrate, please. All of you, concentrate. The next one is negative x plus 2 minus 3. So this is what type of function we are working with? Square root, right? So this is our original square root function. Negative means reflection. So this one is negative square root of x. This negative square root of x, we are moving which direction? To left and 3 down. So 1 left, 2 left, 1 down, 2 down, 3 down means here. Negative x plus 2 and then 3. Now the last one is cubic. We have negative x minus 1 cube plus 2. So this time, what is our original function? X cube, right? And this is the shape of x cube function. How do you know it's x cube? Because see, we have a cubic function, cube. So it's a cube. Now this cube, what we are doing here? Reflect. It means it becomes this way. This is negative x cube. This negative x cube, you are moving which direction? 1 right and 2 up. So 1 right, 1 up, 2 up. And then this is the new one. Negative x minus 1 cube plus 2. So show me your movement. You'll be fine. Even if you don't see the grid, I'll give you the grid. But if you don't see the grid on the paper, no problem. Make your own grid and show me your work, how you are working on the graph. So you have 3 types of function. One of them you'll see in the exam. And now something like this one. The graph is given. Find out the information. It says first find f or g of 5. What is this 5? X value or the y value? So they want us to see when x is 5, what is the y value? X is 5 here. So what is our y value? 3. The next one, find g of 0. What is this 0? X is 0, right? So x is 0 is here. When x is 0, what is our y? 0. So for this type of question, you don't have to do any math. It's simply see and write. Next one says find all x values for which g of x is 0. What does it mean to have g of x? The x or the y? It says g of x is 0. So what is g of x? When y is 0, they're only telling you find the x. So when y is 0, draw a line to see how many x will you have for that y. How many x we have for 0? 1 here, 1 there, and 1 here, right? So what are the x values? And then 3. So for y, draw a line. For x, we don't have to draw any line. The next one is the same thing. Find all the x values for which g of x is 3. So our y is 3, right? And we have 3 here. So what are the x values? X equals negative 3 and 5. For x, just look at the x, find the y when x is given. But when y is given, draw a line because we may have more than one x. If you don't give all the x values, you're going to lose points. Guys, Daniela, talk later. Today we're doing review. You'll get lost if you don't concentrate now. Okay, from here, perpendicular line. It says find a line that is perpendicular to this line. And it goes to the point 5,2. So what is the line that is perpendicular to this line and the perpendicular line goes to the point 5,2? Why do we need this line? Why did they give us this line? It has a slope, so we have to see the slope. Do we see the slope here directly? So we need to write this as mx plus b format because we need these, only this from this line. So we subtract 3x, we get negative y is negative 3x plus 8. Are you done with solving for y? What do you do next? Change all the negatives, change all the sign. So we get y equals positive 3x negative 8. So what is the slope of this line? 3, not x, just 3. X is a variable, but slope is a number. So what is the slope of the perpendicular line? Negative 1/3. So we found our slope of the perpendicular line. And that goes to the point 5,2, which is x1, y1. So how are you going to find the equation of the perpendicular line? Point slope. Do you remember point slope? Y minus y1 and x minus x1. And I will specifically tell you to convert this into y equals mx plus b format. Okay. So what is our y1 for the perpendicular line? 2. What is the slope for the perpendicular line? Negative 1/3. What is our x for the perpendicular line? 5. So y minus 2, we split, we get negative 1/3 x. And then negative 1/3 times negative 5. What do you have? Positive, only the 5 on the top and 3 on the bottom. Y minus 2 is negative 1/3 x. But it says the final answer should be in this format. That means we need to add 2 here. So they cancel out. Y is negative 1/3 x. And how are you going to combine them? So here we have multiply top and bottom by 3 because we have the denominator 3. That gives us 6 over 5 plus 6, right? So not 6, 3 over. So final answer is y equals negative 1/3 of x plus 11/2. So from the given line, we find slope. We figure out the slope for the perpendicular parallel line. Plug everything in the slope, point slope format. And then based on what the final answer they want us to see, we convert into y equals x plus b or x plus b equals c. But in this exam, I'm going to ask you specifically convert this here, plug it into set form. And I'll give you this as a multiple choice question. So you have to show all the work, but you cannot get any partial credit. Either everything is correct, you pick the correct choice, or even if you do the work correct, but pick the wrong multiple choice, you get 0. Or if you do wrong work, but pick the correct multiple choice, you get 0. Why? In order to get the point, your work must be correct and the multiple choice should be correct. And it's because all the multiple choice, they're very close to one another. So if you pick the wrong one, that means you pick the wrong one. It's not my rule, okay? It's department rule. That's how we grade final exam. Do you remember your domain? So let's say this one. What is the domain of this one? Negative infinity. So you're working, but you have nothing here. So you stop at 0 and it's a parenthesis. And then you start again from 0 and then you keep going on forever, infinity. How about the range? The smallest y to the largest y. What is the smallest y you see? 0, but the 0 doesn't exist, right? And what is the largest y you see? Positive infinity. How about this one? Negative infinity 2. This is the y value. Okay, y value 3. But domain is not the y value, domain is the x value. X value. So what is the x value you see in the graph? From negative to positive infinity, everywhere, right? There is no gap in our x. We have whole x-axis we used, but we did not use entire y-axis. What is the smallest y you see here? Smallest y value in this graph is what? 3. And do we have a hole at 3? The B has hole, right? You can see our hole. But do we have any hole in our first one? That means we don't. When you don't have any hole, it's bracket. And our graph is going on forever upward. So what is the highest y value you see? Infinity. So this is a hole. It means parenthesis. And this is means closed. It means bracket. Domain for this type of function. For some reason, department likes this. So function inside the radical. What is the condition? And what do you want? The inside has to be what? It must be positive, right? Can it be 0 also? Do you know what is square root of 0? What is square root of 0? 0, right? So it is a real number. So we can have 0 and we must have bigger than 0 also. So for any type of square root function, we want the inside must be a positive or something 0. And then we have inside 100 minus x squared. So that thing must be bigger than or equal to 0. This is the condition. What number or which numbers make this expression bigger than or equal to 0? That means we need to solve for x. So 100 minus x squared equals 0. Let's factor. How do you factor x squared minus 10, x 100 minus x squared? Do you remember u to perfect square? So this is same as 10 square minus x square. So what's the factors we get from there? No, other way around. 10 plus x, 10 minus x. Whatever is the first, we must write that in the first term. It looks same, but actually they are not same. So 10 plus x 0, 10 minus x 0. That gives us x is what? And positive 10. Since we got two x values, that means we have a problem. If you observe the number line, oops. If you observe the number line, we have negative 10 somewhere here, positive 10 somewhere there. That means we get three intervals. Which of these intervals gives us something positive or 0? See, we need to see. So we go to each interval. Anything that is smaller than negative 10. What number you have? Negative 12. So we have 100 minus negative 12 squared. What is negative 12 squared? Which one is bigger, 100 or 144? That means the result will be what, plus or minus? Can you have anything negative? So see, the first interval is not inside our domain. Then we pick anything in the middle. The best number is 0. So we have 100 minus 0 squared. What's the answer, positive or negative? That means the middle interval is the best one. Then you go to the last one. Anything bigger than 10. 12. So 100 minus 12 squared means 100 minus 144. Again, we get something negative.
Wait, hold on. Isn't the first one supposed to be positive?
No, because negative 12 squared. What is negative 12 squared? Negative 12 times negative 12. So see, we cannot apply any number for our x. We can only apply all the numbers between negative 10 to positive 10. What do you get, bracket or parentheses? Brackets. So anytime you have more than one number after solving for x, we must check which intervals gives us the correct result. And then we have second type of problem, something like this. F of x is x over 28 minus 7x squared. What we cannot have on the denominator. So see, the denominator must not be equal 0. So 28 minus 7x squared must not be 0. And then our goal is to solve for x. What do you have to do? Do you see anything common between 28 and 7x squared? What do you see? So if you pull out the 7, what do you have? 4 minus x squared. This 7 is just a number, so we can divide both sides. So we get 4 minus x squared must not be 0. Can we factor 4 minus x squared? Four is 2 square, right? So what factors do we get from 2 square minus x squared? 2 plus x, 2 minus x. That means 2 plus x cannot give us 0. 2 minus x cannot give us 0. So from here, we cannot have x equals what number? Negative 2. Oops. And from here, we cannot have x equals positive 2. That means we can apply anything from the number line except for these two numbers. So negative infinity to positive infinity, everything is possible except for negative 2 and positive 2. So what is our domain? Negative infinity until we go to, and then in the middle, negative 2 to 2, and finally the last piece, 2 to infinity. So everything from the number line except for two numbers, negative and positive 2. One more before we go, final exam. We have y equals, my bad. We have f of x is x squared minus 2. First, we have to find f of 3 plus h. It means your x turns into 3 plus h. But then you cannot distribute the power. So that means we are going to do FOIL. So this is our step 1. Find out how much is this. So we get 9 plus 6h plus h squared minus 2. We combine them, we get 7 plus 6h plus h squared. Now, step 2 says find what is f of 3. It means instead of x squared minus 2, we write 3 squared minus 2. What is 3 squared? And what is 9 minus 2? 7. Now, finally, the last step. It says whatever you get from f of 3 plus h and f of 3, subtract them. So from the first one, we found 7 plus 6h plus h squared. And you're subtracting f of 3. Plus 7 minus 7 cancel out. 6h plus h squared. Let me change the color. So this is f of 3 plus h, which is here. And this is f of 3, which is here. So subtracting f of 3 from f of 3 plus h, we got 6h plus h squared. Okay. So I told you what will be in the exam, and I want to buy as much as possible. Whatever we could not go over here, make sure you study them on your own. There are a lot to cover in exam 1. So please, guys, if you want to do well, study. And good luck with your exam. Have a good weekend.